Alright class, I got your tests back, and to be honest, the grades weren't exactly what I expected. It seems that some of you didn't really understand the material well enough, so I think it would be appropriate if we were to go over some of that and, maybe take a retake. So to get started today, let's start off with a few warm-up problems with some skills that I feel you need to know for this test. So we're going to start out with a simple foiling problem. We're going to start off by doing x plus 4 times x minus 3. And it's important that you want to FOIL this, so just take a few moments right now and work out this problem on your own piece of paper. Would anybody like to come up and do this problem on the board? Yeah, you can do it. Okay. Thank you, Hannah. Hannah did a good job, class, but it's important to remember that at the end of your problem, you have to combine the like terms. So she got the right components, of course, but at the end it's going to be x squared plus x minus 12. Does everyone see why that is? Excellent. All right. So now that we've got foiling down, let's move on to another warm-up problem. I know some of you are having problems factoring, so I think it would be appropriate if we were to go over a problem of that nature. Let's do x squared minus 10x plus 24. Now, everyone just take a few moments, briefly do this problem on your own, see what you get. And would anybody like to come up and do this problem on the board?
I will.
All right, Laura, you can do it. Excellent. And as you can see, Lauren got a binomial. It's two numbers that multiply to each other. So if you were to FOIL these two together, what do you think you would get as a product? Anyone at all? Hannah.
The first answer, x squared minus 10x plus 24.
True, you would get the initial answer. And that's what's important. That's what you're looking for when you're factoring. You're looking for the two numbers that are going to multiply together to get you back to the original. Alright, so you guys have factoring down. Now let's move on to the last skill we're going to need for our lesson today. We are going to be distributing. So let's just work on a simple -6 and multiply that by x minus 5. I'd like you guys to do that right now, please. And would anyone like to come up to the board and do it? I guess it's Hannah once again. Come on guys, you really need to step up the game. Excellent. As you can see, she just multiplied the negative 6 by the x, and then the negative 6 by the negative 5. Of course, a negative times a negative gets you a positive. Good job, Hannah. Alright, now that we have all of our essential skills, let's move on to something that gave you guys a lot of trouble on the test. It's called the difference quotient. I know, it's not exactly the most fun thing in the world, but you gotta know it because it's important to life. So, today we're going to be working with the problem f of x. Remember, f of x is just a funny way of saying y. That's going to equal x squared minus 6x plus 2. And the formula we use for the difference quotient is f of x plus h minus f of x. And then you divide the whole thing by h. And of course, that just means that you're going to take this initial problem you have over here, and wherever you see an x initially, you're just going to replace with an x plus h, and then subtract that by the initial problem, and then divide it by h. Now, there's a lot of complicated steps to go into this, so I created, a fun mnemonic device for you guys to see if you can, help you guys figure this out. So we follow the P, F, D, C, F, D. Now, this stands for plug in, FOIL, distribute, combine like terms, factor, and divide. And an easy way to remember this is to say, Peter's friends dance cheerfully for dinner. It's very important. I thought that would help you guys out since we have Peter in the class over there. So, based on what we have written down and the problem we have, what's going to be our first step to solving this problem?
Pardon the interruption. Could Julia Hare come to the office?
Julia Hare?
Yes, please. Be
Yeah,
prepared
sure.
to leave.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. So, based on what we have written down and our given problem, what should be our first step to solving this equation?
Plug it in.
Plug it in, exactly. So, to plug it in, like I said, we're just going to take this initial problem, and wherever there's an x, plug in x plus h. X plus h squared minus 6x plus h plus 2. Now that's the first part, that's this part right here. So we're going to kind of section this off from the rest of it and just put it into a bigger bracket, if you will. And from there, we're going to subtract the initial problem. So, minus x squared minus 6x plus 2. And we'll also section that off with just parentheses this time. Don't forget to divide the entire thing by h. Now, it looks a little daunting right now, but trust me, it's gonna get weeded down as we follow our steps. So, does anyone know what we should do next?
FOIL.
Exactly, we should FOIL. Now, what part of this should we FOIL, class?
The x plus h squared.
Yeah, the x plus h squared. So to FOIL that, we're going to take x plus h and just multiply it by x plus h. That, of course, is going to get you x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Now that's just one part of it. What should we do next, class?
We should distribute the negative 6 into x plus h.
That's right. So when we distribute it in, we're going to get negative 6 and a negative h. So we'll just tack those onto the end of this. Minus 6x minus 6h. And then you can just write out the rest of the problem. Plus 2. And then here we come to another important part of the distributing. As you see here, we have this equation, but we also have a negative sign on the outside. It's very important that you distribute the negative sign into the rest of the problem. So when you distribute a negative 1 into x squared, what are you going to get?
Negative x squared.
Negative x squared. And when you distribute it into x, 6x, negative 6x, you're going to get a positive 6x. And into a positive 2, you're going to get a negative 2. So, just it's very important, and just remember to tack that on at the end. So it's going to be minus x plus 6x minus 2. And then, of course, it's still divided by h. Okay, guys, what should we do next?
Combine like terms.
Yes, combining like terms is the optimum way to do this. This is where we're going to get rid of all this gobbledygook. So, let's see what we can get rid of here. Well, you see we have a negative 6x and a positive 6x. Those are completely gone, just disappeared. Positive 2, negative 2. We can knock those out. And it seems to me that those are the only things that we can factor out right now. So let's move on to the next step of the equation. What should we do next?
We should factor it.
We should factor it, but first let's set it up so it is factorable. So we have 2xh plus h squared minus 6h. And of course you divide it by h. Oh, sorry class, I just noticed up here that you can mark out the negative x squared and the positive x squared. So that gets rid of those and leaves us with this down here. So, as you said, we can factor this out. Now, what should we factor out? What do all of these terms have in common that can be factored out?
H.
Correct, they have an h that can be factored out. So, we're going to write it. Sorry guys, I'm a little tall for this board. We're going to write it as h on the outside of a parentheses with 2x plus h minus 6. Of course, we're still dividing by h. Never forget to leave that off, or never leave that off, guys. Okay, so now that we have this here, what should we do now?
Divide.
We should divide, because it's the last part of our mnemonic, or the dance portion, or dinner, actually. This one up here is dance. Alright, so when we divide it out, you're going to end up just taking the h's away.